do know loving yourself first. This involves you being your securely attached, non-traumatized person. I'm attachment trauma informed, so I'm just going to break down some technical aspects, and then that is also going to be where we have some stories. So as a teenager, I was already able to lead with my higher self, and that's where you'll know your story. But essentially, it is not the thoughts that decide if we have trauma or not. It is how our embodied brain will respond to events. And so that's where, thank you, Stephen Porges, for that information. Also, because sensations, images, affects, behaviors, and meanings are what come up, it's only if you are self-aware, accountable, regulating that you will know how to be your higher self. And so you don't have charges that actually take over. You don't do structural dissociation. You don't do cognitive dissonance. And for the group of people who are not in our 5D collective, we know who they are. We thank our brothers and sisters that are choosing fear. They are not demons or Lucifer. Nope, they actively perpetuate trauma, and that's because they don't want to do anything about it. And really, as Patrick Tan has a share today, let's use his stuff, as he's pretty straightforward when it comes to what people are not doing. And that's basically when you have those who do take note of the importance of information. My phone has decided not to work. Give me a second. I have a lot of different pictures, and every now and then some of those folders will go disappearing on me. Here it is. So he says, our families might not believe in mental health, but they are certainly struggling with it. And he says, if you're reading this, the chances are you are most likely the only person in your family working on your mental health. Now, I don't know about that, but I understand what he's saying. He says, I'm not clairvoyant. I am clairvoyant, actually. But he says it's not universal, so he's being funny. But regarding childhood trauma and mental health, there is usually only one person in the family trying to heal. Okay, so he's sharing with his community what is his experience and how lonely it is. I'm going to just move from that angle to say there are plenty of people, independently from whether they are taking care of their childhood trauma or not, that don't take mental health seriously, because I hear them as parrots on YouTube talking to people. Here's my punishment questions for when you go dating with men. And as a woman, I am an empowered woman, so I know that men have just as many interesting, shitty experiences as a woman will, and I'm sure they. Why? Well, because of the people who don't go to Patrick Tiahan to get to love themselves first. So effectively, as a teenager, I already knew what a healthy relationship and what love meant, which is why, as I'm flirting with this one random dude, I really liked him, and I'm coming in with my nice high heels. The one reason we couldn't be a couple was consistently you're too short, will look aesthetically unpleasing. And I come in with my shoes, and this guy, immediately he sees me, he's like, don't think with those shoes that we'll be together. And my immediate download, as I didn't know, but I already had those things called the angels that are next to you, your higher self, all of it, bring it all in, because I can do the woo-woo pseudoscience and the spiritual stuff. The download was, this isn't love, but I'm having a good time, so it doesn't matter. A stream of consciousness. When I look at it from faith, spiritual, and with God and angels, I can tell you that I didn't think of spiritual gifts because that sounded like something that couldn't ever happen to me. When I moved into having clairs, I moved into being a mystic, and now I knew I wasn't going to be welcomed by all people of my faith growing up. But I knew that it was untrue, that not welcoming me is part of their divisiveness, not the truth of what those of us of spirituality is the umbrella in which all of those of us who believe in religion and faith and God and spirit, we like to use it all together. And those who don't like it, we're not going to be like, oh my God. They just keep using Luciferian era, Lucifer here, Lucifer there, and disregard the smart attachment trauma educators and people like neuroscientists and neurotheologians and all explanations that lead me to simply say anyone can have kingdom of the God within you. It's called heaven. It's called restorative embodiment. It's called loving yourself first. With that being said, either you're on board with becoming your whole self or being yourself, or you're not. And that's pretty straightforward. So everyone deserves love. As a teenager, I told girls that who were becoming like the squirrel from Cusco land. As for guys, I've told them that too. In fact, actually, one of the stories that has taken place was with one of the many guy friends that I gave suggestion. No, I said, these are not relationships. These are people who are treating you like shit. Why are you with them? I don't even think it's an actual relationship. No, I'm talking sense. And instead of appreciating that, these individuals definitely did things that I can tell you all, I don't find it, oh my God, they're bad friends. No, because facades, all half people, meaning the pause self people, could go to Patrick Tihan, become emotionally mature, and then they would notice that they had what is called reactivity, because instead of taking what I shared with them and hearing it, they didn't at all. It's actually, so yes, lack of self-aware. One of the people in particular, I told him I wasn't planning on calling you back because what you did and how you talked, it was completely awful. I actually thought, thank goodness I'm far away from you, because physically I don't feel safe at all as you talk to me about men who want to physically hurt women, and then you actually are telling me I'm a sex object, and you're betting on me being actually heartbroken when you're supposed to love me as a friend, which I know you do. You're just in a mood. And so this is the part of we all are flawed and perfect, and we all can have a mood. So the ones who want to say, let me cast a stone on them, why would you cast a stone? Have you never been in a mood and said something that you didn't mean? So this is where people who are empowered aren't going to be pointing fingers like this. The people who have groups and they justify and want pats on each other's back, those are people who I talked about that one in trending topics in groups. So everyone deserves love. All my friends, I don't hold it against them. Do I wish that they would be emotionally mature? That's not for me to wish. Actively, God keeps telling me to stop judging suffering. And actively, Patrick Tihan tells me about how many people are cowards and won't go and get their therapy. And I will say, I know, Patrick, they choose Boca Raton, and some don't even choose that. And they will allow themselves to think that they don't need anything. On the other hand, when I've been presented with, don't you need therapy? I actually don't have any clinical dissociation when I have my panic attacks. I actively do not project my 3-year-old out to anyone except for my mother and twin, and I apologize when it happens. I actively am a person who takes responsibility. Anytime some human being is decent enough to be saluted, I will act as my mother taught me. So no, I don't need a therapist because I know how to self-regulate in my ventral vagal state. I don't actually answer them like that, but I'm letting you all know that's how you would know yourself. If you don't know if you're using your ventral vagal state and your prefrontal cortex, I'm going to say that you don't know yourself yet. If you do know yourself and you love yourself first, then you're going to want to be in your ventral vagal state. And if instead you think that being in your emotions means yelling in somebody's face, like the immuno decent enough to be saluted, I am going to let you know that's an adaptive child, reactive pattern of behavior, but I'm sure that your group will justify that as any other group that has a trauma charge will say, I believe that I can teach everybody manners, and that's why the martyrs and superiors continue to be black and white thinkers. Because how about you think of your own manners, and how about you consistently be yourself mannered the way you want? So I got to be lucky again. I have a whole 3-year-old heart. I know what healthy self-worth means, and I know how to think for myself because I got to consistently be shared. It's your life, not my life. And also there's a bunch of Italian sayings, one of which, who does for themselves does for three. So what this implies is that if you mind your own fucking business, but they don't curse, you'll get far. And as I am a person who's a nurturer, and I'm simply put, yes, I got to learn how to consistently become more of Maria and share with others who I am and allow them to share who they are with me. And so you don't get broken if you are a higher self-led teenager, child, all that stuff. And so this is where you'll know if you are, because you don't have a chip on your shoulder. And like this comedian said, you know that anybody can get offended of anything at all. And you just remember, I will say I'm sorry so that I can allow myself to be in peace, not because I did something wrong. The people who think you should speak up to teach somebody a lesson, again, I love when people don't realize how we all rule, because that's the very moment of truth where I do have an ego and it rules me and I rule it. That is what I own. I own Maria's sense of self. I own my thoughts, I own my emotions, and I can calibrate, because I'm a securely attached, non-traumatized person, my nervous system to, as I'm being yelled at in the face, we had a misunderstanding, because I care about my human herd, living a life of meaning and connection beyond the solo self. That's what true spirituality is all about. So the ones who don't own their soul yet, meaning the unconditional love, yes, the mystics I'm talking about right now, and the spiritual. For the sciences, they would talk to you about being a functional adult like Terrio, which means you self-accept. You could be crooked to somebody else, which means evil, Knievel, medieval. So the data speaks clearly, no demon inside the body of anybody. If you love yourself first, you're going to know how to present. Here's my thoughts, here's my feelings, here's the data. You have no emotions, Maria. That's teenagers. No, I do have emotions. I'm just not dramatic and getting viciously mean by the minute. I love him. I'm not going to be mad at him. I'm going to say he's a coward, and I don't want to drag her anywhere, down the hallway, down the street. This is not nice. This is a teenage version who's being told by people that I should not love these two human beings, who instead, thank goodness, I do love and I am friends with, and they still will be like, and I'll be like, and it's not weird. You're weird. How do you say you love someone if you don't mean it? Because see, to me, if I use the word, it's because I feel it. Also, love is I want you to be happy. I want your best interests. I don't want what's for me. I want you to thrive. Compersion. You don't have to be polyamory to have it. You love yourself first. Any relationship, what you're going to say is, I want to see you smile and be fulfilled. Otherwise, it's not love. And if that means it's without me, then it's without me. Anyone know how to handle rejection like a grown-up? Right here. It's called your higher self. So people who don't know how to handle breakups, I don't feel like, oh my God, something horrible happened. I think, okay, I know the data point. It's our mammalian heritage to want one securely attached figure, and I have been lucky because I got given the superpower of having a twin. So my implicit memory knows no aloneness. And that is why I have not been concerned with being all alone with the bear. Also, I choose the man, not the bear. But my point is, I know, thank you God, that all my brothers and sisters are deserving of love because he made us, and that everybody's soul is pure love, and that they can all reach it if they want to. And that's because the scientists prove what I got taught from those who are good catechists. So faith, Holy Spirit, God, Jesus, mysticism, spirituality, as Sadhguru points out in his quote from today. Let's see if I can get it. Mysticism is not about performing miracles. Mysticism is a profound exploration of the miracle of life, which is not perceivable by the five senses. Also, as Neil deGrasse points out, there's a trillion billion chances that you would be reborn genetically. So the miracle of life, or the gift of life, from science to spirituality, is the same. When you love yourself first, it's because you're your self-agent, and so you can calibrate that nervous system. Doesn't mean you want to do it alone. It just means that if I'm by myself and I'm being rejected because I'm being unseen, I'm being unsoothed, unsafe, unsecure by even my own herd, this is when you're a higher self who knows how to say nothing. Because you won't be engaging, woman, man, or they, when you are your own self. You understand that not everyone's going to want you or like you. It doesn't mean that you're going to be shattered. It's going to be different for every person. But if you're anchored in ventral energy, and if you have uncontrolled love for yourself with flaws, imperfections, and integrity, then I can guarantee that in time, you learn how this is the norm. I'm 45, so I mean, really, it might be my age. All I can tell you is love hasn't grown harder for me. It's grown easier and more amazing. And if somebody doesn't love me back, going from the one to the ones to the ones, it's not that they don't love you back. It's that they don't love the same way you love. This is a really weird, right? No, yeah, tell me about it. My facade friend doesn't love me the same way I love him. The one I didn't talk to for 5 years. The one who also bet that I would be just used and thrown away. So there's plenty of ways that I will say love is love. It's unconditional. And the manners will tell me if I have Pacha or Cusco. When I know I have Cusco, I have a self-fulfilling prophecy of a person who has a 0-8-year-old, and their trauma time is not personal. So as a growing up that was also attachment trauma informed, I'm 19, I know there's no Lucifer monster. By the time I'm 30, I still know that. And then by the time, whenever it is, I began getting attachment trauma informed, like, okay, thank you so much, Bezel Vanderkolk, because I was wondering why it's so hard for people to be their self. You finally gave me the key. And as I was already telling people, Jesus didn't miss on giving us anything to help people to love and be their self and to be, no, it's your heart, not my heart. So you can use your heart openly, or you can keep it closed. When people are consistently testing each other, it's unfortunate business, but that's why they need Patrick Tian if they want it. If they don't, then they don't. I, on the other hand, know all about what true love is, because again, it consistently grows with all people. The bond that you build, that's a different story. And actually, securely attached figures are those who choose to build a home together, which means you talk about it. You don't use your imagination for it. And the one thing 4D loves is definitely imagination, which is why, as I got attachment trauma informed, I was like, I'm so thankful that I get to be here for the 5D mystic community, because they don't have to be wasting their time in poor unfortunate souls, so sad, but true. Yeah, so we don't do what the 4D, 3D do, and we don't objectify our oversoul, and we don't need our soul contracts to begin or end or give them names. We don't need to do that. They have human names. They have baby birth names, and we don't need to be weaponizing. I got a narcissist, I got an empath. No. So whenever I hear any of those are called groups. They're group Cusco, Pinocchio. Have fun. I can see you have a silverback over there. Is it Wendy by any chance? Because you obviously all need to be a herd together, like the teenagers at my high school who all got together. It is true, though, that we are 14-month-olds, all of us. Our amygdala actively wants to play with the 3-year-old. No, with the with the teddy bear. This is one of those small studies. So yeah, a 14-month-old will want to play with the teddy bear that likes the same cereal. I can get that. Definitely, I have my amygdala alerted to that, which is of interest. Yes, they need to learn. They need to expand. They need to love to learn. They love to learn more. Entrepreneurial mind, motivated by love, live, laugh, and actually all emotions. I can get melancholic if I have to. I don't want to. I'm just saying. But yeah, mastering all the emotions. Of course, life is life. So unknowns, uncertainties, unexpecteds. But when you're so used to using Zen Master, the prefrontal cortex and the ventral vagal state, emotions only last 90 seconds. Maybe it'll reach his ears at some point. Smart brain people, by the way. I'm not making this shit up. And I know people, I find it hard to, yeah, you can keep finding it hard to believe. I know how to tell you how to build resiliency. I also know when people say, resiliency, that means we're supposed to put up with shit. As long as you want a story, teenager, for why you are upset, you're not actually putting into practice the muscle. I'm not kidding. That's why it's your personal choice. You don't have to move into use stress or use your ventral vagal state. You really don't, but it is in those moments of, I'm being tested, I'm upset, and I have had plenty of people who do that, and they don't want to process it, metabolize it, accept it. And so here, and we'll end, accepting that you will not be wanted. I'm 4 years old, I get rejected, okay? I'm just saying, that's not the last time. Being able to know that your heart gets sad. Number one, we all want one mammalian figure because that's our actual, we will survive. So technical aspects and specs, yes. But that doesn't take away from what love is. The ones who want a story, again, you can have a story. Accompanying it with what rules you is awesome for the securely attached, self-empowered person, because yeah, the ones who deny to go get themselves out of not securely attached, that's a whole different story. But they do enjoy their cat and mouse games. So that's why Patrick Chan says they can make sense of toxic relationships. Not fun to watch. Anyways, back to us. So as I was saying, when you are, and I lost the train of thought, the 3-year-old, the 14-month-old, the amygdala, technical specs, the mammalian heritage, there we go. Okay, so one, you're going to want that very bare minimum. That's also why we will have a fear of losing each other when we commit to each other, because I'm a person, you're a person. So maybe you'll change your mind, but that's not going to happen if you have people who commit because they chose it. And the part of choosing it is if you're a self-agent and you're conscious of your desires and your beliefs and your wills and your stuff, and you're saying, I'm authentically this. When you have authenticity, you're not going to go wrong. When you have people who are performing, those are the people who have a whole different, I'm not talking to those people because those people don't know love. In fact, they're the ones who whine about relationships, who look for punishing questions to go figure out who's lying to them, which means you don't have a good gut. The minute you still don't know how to gauge just authentically, which is walk a walk, talk a talk. I don't need somebody to teach me. I got taught by my mother what it means for people to consistently show up for the important things, and to then also know we're all imperfect and flawed. We're not going to always be able to get it right. That's not how it works. And so relationships, romantic, they last for the people who are empowered. And the ones who are empowered, you can see them singing on top of the rooftops because nobody's a ball and chain, and nobody is actively putting up some kind of mask. And so, yeah, whenever I hear about the unhealthy people, I just think if only they went to learn to love themselves first. Patrick Tahan and Terry Real are all over the internet, on YouTube for sure, and so deserving love. Teenagers, we're already beginning. They don't deserve. Everyone deserves love. Everyone can be loved. Everyone can know it. Everybody no, not everybody wants it, because actively not everybody believes in the attachment trauma mental health information, and even if they believe in it, they don't want to do it because they are very much into feeling life in the way that they learned to feel life. And that's why I don't find it fun or interesting that the attachment coaches call secure attachment boring, because I'm like, how are you going to motivate if you use the word boring? You want to make them aware that they have learned unhealthy self-soothing patterns, that they can fall back on them, like Dr. Daniel Fox presents for his community, maladaptive patterns for borderline personality and narcissism. He helps a lot of people understand you're going to fall on those patterns, but if you keep moving forward, you're going to be able to. He has BPD cards. I got them. They're amazing, his motivation. So, yeah, we all will fall back on patterns if we have our best interests, and that means our herd. We're going to know the wiggle room dance. So, it's always in the middle. Balance is lovely wisdom of my mother, because I like extremes. So, she likes to remind me of balance, but also we're all creatures of habit. So, when you have a good herd, when you have people who care about each other, we lead each other with those flexible, adaptive, coherent, energized, stable, consistent interactions and relationships. You'll know love because it won't leave. And that's why over time you build that. And people who love each other for real will want each other to be happy. So when you accept that somebody doesn't love you the same, like the teenage boyfriend, again, it's not, oh my God, Maria, you should change who you are. No, that is not what happens if you have a self-empowered higher self leading you. If you have something different, then you grow as you get older. You just become disillusioned, I think is the word, and depressing is another word. But they all use the same stories. Why me? Why me? Why me? Men and women. I'm like, okay, really? Oh, I'm going to leave it alone, because, like I said, they're really into their stories, because they're really into ruminating, venting, using every single one of those Mean Girls, Hangover, dramatic movies that I'm thinking, okay, that's why I don't need to watch a movie. I just go out and watch people and then think, God. And he keeps saying, don't judge suffering, Maria. And I say, okay. So again, here we're people who take care of each other and support inspiring human potential. We welcome all brothers and sisters, and you know what? What would the world be without those who are navigating fear? We will have a land with fear and love, because, fear, I have fear too. Yes, physical safety is a very important priority. So I'm not kidding. And also, trauma charges are stored in muscles, bones, and tissues, and it's a more in-depth conversation than only about the body. Because I can tell you, through your self-awareness, accountability, regulation, when you have healed all of that stuff, if you needed, now you are a person who knows healthy self-worth. But still, while I don't have any kind of shame as a 3-year-old, you will need consistent reinforcement of that, which is why I'm happy to be here for those who will want it. Because that way you can hear the difference between a person who's like, your shaming tone, blaming, faulting, is a bad-mannered person. You're bad manners. That's all you are. And you got treated that way. So no, I won't treat you the same way. Actually, I will, with time, consistently bring the same equanimous and the same discerning love that I learned from home, from God, from all of it. And that's where we keep on sharing that. And it's really, again, great once you're used to your ventral energy, because you feel so relaxed inside. Your mind's quiet, your emotions are quiet. I need yoga or meditation. In fact, I still don't do it, but you're just at ease. And I do definitely learn a lot when I've taken my somatic courses, the body. So she informs me, the empowered feminine. But again, needing to love yourself first. That's how you know love, and then you'll know everyone deserves love. But you'll also know that if you meet unhealthy self-worth people, they won't know what love is, and you can handle adaptive child, part people manners very easily. I've done it before. They're not partner material at all. And accepting rejection with discernment and equanimity is what I can tell you all is not hard, because that's what true love is in the first place. So I can lead it always back to us being in our prefrontal, because that's when you're a self-agent and you are secure. And so you're not in a relationship because you're afraid to be alone. You're in a relationship with 1, 2, 3 because you enjoy them. And so I'm not needing you to be happy in life. I'm not needing you to feel fulfilled. I'm not needing you for my mammalian heritage, okay? I'm a safe haven, secure base of myself. That's why for the longest time, the solo poly. I'm not needing the couple-centric to expand who I am. No, that will be with me if there's that one who wants that, because that's exactly what love is in partnership. Those who think of it as a ball and chain, or as a aspect that is, yeah, societal, again, that's where I get it. Everybody has a different journey. I'm just here to share. Those who are self-agents and empowered know that healthy partnership means that we look and see to have each other fly, and more than just each other. We don't forget our friends. We don't forget our family. We don't put people. Your herd grows when you are a welcoming person, when you overflow in your humanity instead of having it broken. People who want a small group are the very maladaptive, meaning people who have rigidity and perfectionism. So when you are not able to handle different political views, religious views, to have a good time, you are not able to handle actively another person's way of seeing life and making jokes and whatnot. And it's from the smallest to the biggest. Nothing has really changed in the world except for with YouTube and social media. I guess for me, what I'm settling into is we've always had groups like what we see online. The difference is they weren't for us to see all of them. And obviously, I'm sure that being able to be online, there's a lot of other aspects that have come to be, but people can learn to agree and disagree and have a good time. Then again, my culture, my heritage, Naples, Italy, we can yell at each other and nothing's happening. So there's a very different relationship with that arguing, which is not taking offense. And so once again, we go to the self, and any person knowing their self. I know how to not make it personal because it's not personal. It also sounds very egoic. Whenever I think of those who say, oh, they're looking at me now. Oh, it's like, that, you don't know if they're looking at you. They might not, they might be looking somewhere else. So self, it's always about you. That's very much self, what's the word, concerning. So yes, I just feel that when you are still insecure, it seems people have a lot of maybe it's me, maybe it's me. While if you are secure, you can of course think maybe it's me, but you know what, maybe it's not me, and I'm not going to charge it. I'll ask, hey, so I was wondering 1 2 3 4 5, and they say no, none of that. Okay, does it mean I'm convinced? Not necessarily, but I will leave it alone. And that's the part of not making assumptions. So when you're an empowered person, you really don't live in people's heads. You don't live watching your back. You are enjoying, again, building your community. And obviously that's with a secure, safe haven, secure base partner. So you don't be with people you don't trust. And that's very clear. People who love you will want to see you thrive. And that's a healthy, that means they also tell you shit in your face. And that's with manners. But sometimes it can also be in different manners. I remember one of my girlfriends, she said this thing, and I'm like, oh. And I'm like, Maria, stop. She just told you how she thought. You don't need to make a big deal out of it. I was 25. No, I mean, we all have those things. As you grow up, it's really fun. Because again, you learn how to simply dish it and take it, if you will. But really, nobody's dishing or taking. It's Ice Age. Manny, Diego, and Sid. But we all get to be Pachas together. And then we get to put up with Cuscos who want to also move into becoming their Pacha and all be yourself. So, love, live, laugh, and expand. No casting stones, and learn. We'll be back with more. Have a good one.